Good evening again. I want to drink Vinho Verde in Lisbon. I want to go there by night train, wearing a leopard patterned pyjama in a compartment full of strangers. I want to have oranges for breakfast and know exactly where they come from. And I want to know that the workers who picked those oranges got paid for it. And I want to know that their children are going to school whose teachers went to university regardless of how much money they have. I only want to see guns when they're carried around by members of the army or tiny plastic versions of it filled with syrup. I want to remember Srebrenica and read in one of the hundreds of free news outlets that its generals were prosecuted. And I want to look at their faces while they're being walked off to prison. I want to get stuck in a traffic jam and miss an appointment because people are holding a bike manifestation. I don't ever want to smoke weed, but I want to know that in Amsterdam, I could. And I want to have windows that I can open. I want laws that protect me when I am the weakest. I want to be seen, valued, and criticized for what I actually do or did, and not for where I come from. I want to honor the people who died in persecution and our wars by recalling what and who caused those wars. I want to play the game of life by knowing its rules and writing them. I want to have the right to want everything or nothing. And there's only one place in the world where you have the freedom and the possibility to do this. And that's Europe.
Actually, it's the United States of America. I just have to basically say that. Europe is fine, but the only place that you can actually do that is in the United States of America. There are still berries in Europe, honey.
Because Europe stands for freedom. Europe stands for opportunities and possibilities. But it also stands for dignity, decency, and respect. Dignity of every individual, decency of how we treat individuals, and respect for all the rights of the individuals. These innovations, these values are not superficial attitudes. No, they are the result of having met their opposites. It's the result of having gone through 2 world wars. It's an understanding that was gained through blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Europe learned the hard way, not once, but twice. Only fools and Douglas Murray would give up these lessons learned.
She went and attacked Douglas Murray right away. She calls only fools and Douglas Murray and puts them in there together. So I'll be really interested in how Douglas, answers this when he gives his initial, thesis, an opening statement or whatever. But I think attacking immediately and using ad hominem attacks right immediately, especially that, I think is really, really in poor taste and really bad in terms of a debate. But let's continue.
Europe stands for each and every one of us because it has to. It's not a private effort based on kindness or generosity. Our individual rights are not at the mercy of a tender-hearted elite. Our individual rights are respected among our states, so we can move around freely on this continent. They're not exposed to the whims of authoritarian leaders, not exposed to the moods of whoever managed to get the grip of power. Our individual rights are protected by the rule of law and can be enforced in front of a court against the state and others who endanger our rights. It's liberal institutions that guarantee our life in a free society. And the reliability of these institutions makes sure we can all count on the rule of law.
I have to disagree here a little bit. It's not because of liberals, folks. That's not the reason why. Liberals want to expand and to manipulate those rules of laws and to basically give more credence, not to the victims, but to people who perpetrate those crimes. We know what they talk about. They're always on the side of the criminals. They're always looking in terms of why people are doing things. And the reason why people are doing things, there must be a reason. And we need to help them. And to hell with the victims. Nobody cares about that. And that's exactly what liberals do. So what she's doing here is she's this bucket list of just stuff that she's just, verbal diarrhea that's coming. I want oranges. I want to make sure that, they were picked by somebody and he got paid properly, and then that his children don't have to be picking the same oranges or same crop or whatever, but they're going to be taught by teachers who had the ability to go to school, and they go to school. And I want to be able to travel in a night train with pajamas with people I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know what this has to do with freaking immigration, folks. But this is what happens. It's all about feelings and all about wants and needs and desires. And the heck with what happens if those things are actually met. And they just totally are absolutely, something that would be devastating for society in whole.
And it's this confidence that lets us pursue our dreams and seize our opportunities. Nobody follows his or her dream in a state of fear. Nobody meets her or his potential in state of chaos. At the beginning of my speech, and I'm well aware, I told you about what I want from life, about my dreams. Some things might have echoed with your own dreams and others might not. Maybe what you want is very different from what I want for my life. Maybe you would rather not take a night train to Lisbon. Maybe you would rather strengthen the bonds with people and places close to you. Well, you know what? The good news is the freedom and possibility of Europe won't hinder you to do so. Quite on the contrary, you are free to choose how you want to live, how you want to speak, what you want to think. And that's the beauty of a liberal...
That's not true, because look what's happening right now. The freedom to speak. There are laws now in England where if you say something, you misgender, you decide to protest, you're thrown in jail, the police are after you. If you like I said, you mispronounce someone's name, you misgender them, all these things are happening. So what she's talking about is absolutely not true, because what happens is when these liberals, leftists, and these socialists, these Marxists get a little bit of power, get their tentacles into government, into bureaucracies, they cause a tremendous amount of problems for everybody else, because they're not talking, they're doing with feeling, not with facts.
Society, you can choose to be non-liberal. But that does not go the other way around. Our own institutions protect us from a state of arbitrariness. Let's remember for a second what stood at the beginning of the European idea. A continent in shatters, millions of widows and orphans, a destroyed infrastructure, no food, no heating, no karaoke, yoga, raves on solar-paneled houseboats. Let us try to envision this. With Jean Monnet, Robert Schumann, and Konrad Adenauer seated at a heavy wooden table, gazing outside through the window onto a demolished continent, consisting of either victims, perpetrators, or bystanders. How to rebuild confidence, how to rebuild even the slightest hint of faith, let alone vision and hope. How to convince the people left that this continent had a future in store for them. A good one even. Something to fight for, something to believe in. Their common goal, the one thing they all could agree on, the outcome of whether they were going to build had to be never again a war on European soil. And this was the birth of our European institutions. These institutions should make it impossible for a future dictator power structures or movements to call into question the individual rights of an European citizen, the right to live in decency. Every populist...
It's just a European citizen, okay? Not an illegal alien, not somebody, okay, who's just come there illegally by boat or by train or, you know, by whatever other means, and has come into a country or come into Europe illegally. That's the key here, folks. I would strongly, in terms of that, that's one place where I would really pick up on her and basically say, absolutely, when you talked about, you know, European citizen, that's the key.
This movement has at its center the goal of destroying these institutions. Even though they are often democratically elected, which shows the liberal nature of the democratic system, once in power, they have only one goal: to deconstruct liberal institutions. Right-wing populists like Douglas Murray attack these institutions because they want arbitrariness, they want chaos, they want the rule of law not to be the strongest but to be the fittest who survives. Because they are part of that small elite, the privileged few. As soon as they get the power, they expose their fundamental illiberal views. They function like a Trojan horse or an evil uncle who arrives with a bouquet of flowers and leaves with the only ways you've had. The Bali is asking us tonight, who gets Europe? I want to remind us tonight that serious Democrats already got Europe. They've built it with their own hands. Their passion and love for European citizens and their continent over 75 years ago, and for good reasons. I want to tell us, let us not be intimidated by right-wing populists. Let them explain why they want to attack institutions and values that brought decades of peace, freedom, and prosperity to Europe.
Okay, may I remind Flavia here that it wasn't it was a leftist, it was a socialist, it was a Marxist, it was a Democratic Socialist Party, right, in Germany. That was the one, okay, that decided to take the institutions apart. It was the dictatorship, the socialists, the fascists in Italy and Mussolini that decided to what? Destroy democracy and institute fascism and dictatorship in Italy. The same thing happened in Japan. The same thing happened in other countries around the world where, look at what was happening. It was the liberals, it was the leftists, it was the socialists, it was the Democrats that took hold of institutions and completely gutted them and completely stripped ordinary average citizens of power and put it in the hands of a few or the one. I mean, I don't know what the hell Flavia is thinking about here, but she certainly has no idea about European history or what happened during World War I and World War II. The rise of Nazism, the rise of fascism, all of these things coming from the left. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let us know what you think. This was part 3 of the debate between Flavia Kleiner and Douglas Murray. There's about another 8 or 9 parts to this debate that was being done by the Forum on European Culture. We hope you watch all of them. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.